It's a love story that spanned the world. Jill Duggar and Derek Dillard initially met through Skype before their first in-person meeting, which was captured with the 19 kids and counting cameras in tow. Their courtship and subsequent wedding became a highlight of the TLC series, which made the network serious cash when it aired for all to see. The Counting On couple also shared their first child and other big moments for all to see. However, that's all changed since 19 Kids and Counting was cancelled, and they walked away a few years before Counting On was axed. Those moments are forever captured in Jill's heart, and she even saved some souvenirs from the couple's first meeting in Nepal. Jill Duggar and Derek Dillard met in Nepal when he was on a mission trip. Her father, Jim Bob Duggar, accompanied his daughter to meet Derek. Earlier this week, Jill shared a photo on her Instagram story, writing, "We're almost in 2025, but I've loved you since 2013. The photo shared was of the two standing side by side in Nepal, smiling from ear to ear. She joked that it was love at first Skype between the two. Once Jill Duggar and Derek Dillard married and became pregnant with their first child, her family fell apart rapidly. While she was pregnant with Israel, Josh Duggar's scandal broke. It was 2015, and she and her sisters were revealed to be his victims when a police report was made public from a decade before. Jill and Jessa Duggar spoke to Megyn Kelly about their brother, defending him and revealing they had forgiven him. However, he would turn the family upside down again when he was arrested and subsequently convicted on CSAM charges. That also prompted the cancellation of Counting On, though Jill and Derek had walked away a few years prior. The Counting On star was open about the strain in her family and how her relationships weren't always good. Jill and Derek did a few YouTube videos, and she released a memoir, Counting the Cost, which told her story about being a part of reality TV, the demands her father put on her, and where things were with her family. Things seemed to have settled down, and a sort of reconciliation had occurred. Jill recently spent time with her mom, Michelle Duggar, and several of her sisters. Her first priority, though, will always be Derek and their 3 boys. America got a glimpse of the happy Duggar family in an hour-long special, 14 Kids and Counting, way back in 2004. They kept having kids, soaking up viral fame in the reality TV era, and raising questions about big families, homeschooling, and Christianity in America. Americans would become so captivated by this well-behaved Christian family that 10 seasons of 19 Kids and Counting would showcase the happy family. However, behind the smiling faces were dark secrets and a religion that resembled a cult. These were the real lives of the Duggar children, who are now growing up and starting families of their own. Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets is the latest docuseries from Amazon Prime that focuses on the family and its connections to the nonprofit organization Institute in Basic Life Principles, created by an unordained teacher named Bill Gothard, who was based in the Chicago suburb of Oak Brook, Ill. Gothard offered popular seminars on Christian principles for living around the U.S. and expanded his ministry to include a large homeschooling network of thousands of families like the Duggars. While some kids in the Duggar family have left the Institute, the main voice for the Duggar family in the documentary is Jill Duggar Dillard. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar were involved in the Institute before their TV days. In the series, we hear from several former members recounting the harmful effects the religion had on themselves and their families. Gothard founded the Institute of Basic Life Principles in 1961. The principles were designed to help youth and parents make good biblical decisions and to avoid pitfalls in life. Gothard, who studied sociology at Wheaton University in Illinois, developed principles to help inner-city youth, including gang members, in Chicago, and eventually created curriculum and seminar materials for larger audiences. By 1965, the first seminar was held in Chicago for 120 students. The material gained a larger following in the 1960s and 1970s, as Gothard's ideas represented an antidote to the harmful drugs and ennui of the hippie movement. Bill Gothard taught 7 basic principles that Christians should live by: design, authority, responsibility, suffering, ownership, freedom, and success. According to Jill and the former members of the homeschooling network, the Advanced Training Institute of America, the umbrella of authority was a more favored principle Bill would teach. "Every one of us has umbrellas of protection," said Gothard in a clip from the documentary. "If we get out from under the umbrella, we expose ourselves to the realm and the power of Satan's control. For many people, love is the driving factor in building a relationship with God. However, for former Institute members, fear drives their relationship with the Father. While kids probably couldn't play Monopoly, they could play Commands of Christ, a game created by the Institute. Instead of getting a go-to-jail card, they could go to the venomous pit of bitterness or the torture pit of temporal values. Little girls couldn't have Cabbage Patch dolls because a warlock made them, which is probably why the Duggar girls never owned one. And the Institute taught that music with a rock beat, even Christian rock music, could be bad. When a young person listens to a rock song, even Christian rock, they give Satan a little square in their soul," said Gothard in a clip from the documentary. While the Duggar family draws in viewers, the real star of the docuseries is Institute in Basic Life Principles teachings and their destructive results. The series unpacks the fear and training put into children by the Advanced Training Institute of America, the Christian homeschooling movement that combats public school indoctrination. To this day, Christians continue to discuss whether public, private, or homeschooling is the best option for their children. To provide an education adequate for homeschoolers, ATIA created wisdom booklets. The booklets prioritize biblical principles over reading and writing. The educational books are built around the Sermon on the Mount and give a biblical worldview to all other studies. In the wisdom booklet, there are these drawings of women, and they're wearing various different outfits, said Brooke Arnold, a former IBLP member featured in the documentary. The assignment is to figure out what's slutty about each woman's outfit. Instead of learning math, you're learning slut-shaming. Those same lessons and mistreatment would follow many girls and boys to IBLP ministry programs for children. Children were put to work for long hours and dealt with leadership issues. When kids would do something wrong, leaders would sometimes send them to a prayer room for an undefined amount of time. I bought a box of tampons. They, IBLP leaders, went through my stuff, said Heather Heath, a former member featured in the docuseries. They took them instantly. They said these are a form of pleasure. I got locked in my room because I took my own virginity with them and robbed my husband of the right to break my hymen. So, they took my devil sticks. Knowing God's love sadly wasn't a feeling that many youths received within this form of the Christian religion, and the teaching rarely focused on the person and work of Jesus. Rather, it focused on rules, laws, and procedures. It was a pharisaical and legalistic expression of Christianity, perhaps equivalent to rigid forms of Islam, Judaism, or other major faiths. In IBLP, you're on high alert all the time, digging into everything, making sure you're not doing, thinking, or feeling anything that's going to get you sent to hell, said Lara Smith, a former IBLP member featured in the docuseries. Hell was very vivid for us. It was not an abstract concept. I would dream about being burned alive, because I would think, I really hate my brother today. All of these ministry programs and homeschooling network were part of a bigger plan by Gothard. That plan was for a Joshua generation, a group of elite homeschooled children who could rise to the highest level of government, something they saw as essential to take over the government for Jesus and re-establish the role of Christianity as central to America's identity. Alex J. Harries, a Harvard graduate and lawyer, was a big part of the Joshua generation. Currently, he has deconstructed from that ideology. In a Twitter post discussing his deconstructed thoughts about Christianity, culture, and politics, he stated, "I find no support in Scripture for Christians to put their hope in political power or favor. Certainly not for treating the United States as akin to a new Israel, a common but dangerous theological, and usually politically motivated, analogy." Shiny Happy People is a refreshing documentary about deconstructing from bad teachings associated with Christianity. Many faith documentaries have former members badmouth the religion and walk away from the faith. While some former IBLP members have walked away from God, others have unpacked faulty teaching or legalism. For some people in the documentary, they've sought God's wisdom to see if what they learned was even biblical to begin with.